Just when you thought the Switch soup was starting to simmer, new news brings it back to a boil. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switchforce. I've got Gabe here, and we're coming at you with a triple pack of interesting announcements, stories, and details. The first about one of my favorite games of last generation.
And one of the ones that I'm most excited about for the month of November. We have storage requirements for LA Noire, and this is straight from the Rockstar support website. And they're asked what are the storage requirements, and they say depending on whether you're playing from a cartridge or digital download, the storage requirements differ slightly, and we're going to go over them here, Zach. Physical. If using the physical cartridge of LA Noire, the game will require a 14 gig digital download containing required gameplay data as well as general bug fixes and improvements. This file can be downloaded either to the Nintendo Switch console's internal storage or a micro SD card. Let's touch on this first. So if you have
That's a lot of extra download.
If you have no other games installed on your Nintendo Switch and you buy the physical version, you can play LA Noire without an SD card.
Yes.
There is enough space on the Switch. Granted, I'm pretty sure people have other games downloaded, so the likelihood of you needing an SD card is high. So 14 gigs containing required gameplay data and general bug fixes. So it sounds like a day one patch. That's what it sounds like to me. So
absolutely 14
gigs necessary even if you buy physical. Digital only though. The Nintendo eShop digital version of LA Noire includes all bug fixes and including all bug fixes and improvements, requires 29 gigs of available storage. Because this exceeds the internal storage of the console, the eShop version of the game must be installed to a micro SD card sold separately that is inserted prior to being downloaded.
Yeah, don't you dare put that SD card in mid-download, dude.
I'll try not to. 29 gigs, that's very big.
We're getting a lot of sizable games. Doom, LA Noire, we saw it with NBA, and we've been over this. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. SD cards are coming down in price, and you can get very large SD cards. The only thing I wish is that Nintendo eventually raises the cap on their cartridges, because I would like, if you buy a physical version, that you don't have to download half the game. I mean, if you have to download a gig day one patch or a 5 gig, whatever, but 14 gigs, I do hope that they're able to find some sort of cartridge solution in the future. But as we saw from that article discussing, the mix of who plays the Switch on the go versus who plays the Switch at home, maybe digital is just the focus for this system, going forward.
Yeah, and at some point, sorry to go all horse there, but at some point we're gonna need multiple SD cards. It feels like, because the ones we have from launch, they're gonna fill up with these amount of gigs being required for certain games. So get ready for a multiple SD card future, I think.
I'd love to see Nintendo, next holiday or something like that, whenever the Switch feels ripe for a price drop, to just bundle in an SD card. I feel like that'd be really nice and convenient, and kind of kick any qualms people had. But speaking of qualms, EA still has some qualms about Switch. Electronic Arts says that they are in no rush to make more games for the Switch. They are apparently waiting until at least a full year of Switch for them to assess if they want to make more games. So they say that, FIFA, it has not been enough time to really assess how FIFA did. And they have this odd quote where they say, Blake Jorgensen, who is the company's finance chief, says that he needs to fully understand what the demand is for the Switch. Now, I assume he means demand for specific genres, because clearly the demand for Switch is insanely high, right? This console is selling like hotcakes. Mario pushed over 2 million copies in such a brief time, and other games are performing very well on the indie front and things that we do know sales of. But we saw something similar to this from Capcom the other day, now EA. It's an interesting approach.
Well, there's a lot of PR talk in what EA said. This to me says, and of course this is just me reading into it, maybe a little bit too much. Again, this to me says FIFA didn't sell like gangbusters. Because right. If it had come out the gate really strong, this wouldn't be a sentiment. There has been contradicting statements from EA in the past, where before FIFA came out, they said things like, "Hey, for now we have FIFA coming out, and we're looking at what other franchises make sense for the Switch." Like, that's something they've said, and now they're saying, "Hey, we're gonna wait until the Switch has been out for a year," which isn't that far away. It's March. We're in November at this point, so another 5 months or something like that. What are you going to know in 5 months that you don't know now? Right. You know how FIFA's performing.
Yeah, they should. I mean, the console's at over 7 million units. yeah, it'll probably reach at least 10, by March. But again, what's the difference? Is this more just spin to not have to divulge future plans, or are they internally assessing what they want to do going forward? I mean, they've got their big gun Battlefront coming out in a couple weeks, so they probably want to keep the focus there. And they've had some franchise shakeup in terms of dismantling Visceral, or at least the project Visceral is working on. We saw Mass Effect kind of take a massive tumble, and they've got their sports stuff, which I still think will at least that will come to Switch. But in terms of the others, maybe they just are not yet decided or don't want to take away from their fall lineup.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but so you mentioned some of the shortcomings that EA has had as of late. That they've had little success with things like Unravel. Unravel did really well, and I feel like that game would be great on Switch, maybe a sequel, something like that. So the smaller games seem like they do pretty well, but honestly, EA made some gambles on some things that probably aren't paying off. Again, BioWare, Mass Effect not hitting the way it was supposed to, and it canceled. A Star Wars game, not good things. A lot of money spent on those things. So maybe go back to something smaller, and I feel like the Switch is a perfect platform for something like that. And there is obviously demand for the games. Maybe not for FIFA, but there's other stuff.
Right, and, FIFA did come out in September. People, perhaps waiting for Mario, things of that sort. The system seems to be surging again, sales-wise. So I don't know that you can use FIFA. And we've commented on this in the past, not using one game as the only barometer. So maybe EA is not happy with sales of FIFA, and they are instead waiting to sort of see what else does well on the market. If we kind of want to look at it glass half full, glass half empty says this is a strange approach because the Switch is doing very well, and why not have confidence when it seems like plenty of other publishers and plenty of other people are expressing extreme confidence. So I find this to be a little bit of an odd just approach, but maybe it is because FIFA, I know we saw numbers that were like, less than 1% in Europe of FIFA sales were on Switch, so maybe that kind of darkened their future, plans or whatnot, but we'll have to wait and see. EA does make some good stuff still, so hopefully they will continue to be on board. The last story of the day, Gabe, we'll tackle this one together, is a bunch of physical releases, including one that just got announced 4 minutes ago, so let's start with that one. Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, just got a physical release announced for Switch, so that is coming your way. And then a couple of titles from Team 17. We've got Worms WMD, Yoku's Island Express, and my personal favorite, Overcooked.
Yes, for people that love physical releases, happy you. Honestly, we were talking about this prior to recording. I don't see the excitement in this, but I do know that people do love those cases and the cartridges. I understand the collector's mentality of wanting all of these things, but if I really want to play Overcooked, then I do, because it's a fantastic game that you absolutely love. Why not just download it now instead of waiting for the physical one? But yeah, I get it. Different strokes for different folk, all that.
All right, and it is kind of nice coming up on the holiday season. Some people would rather wrap a physical than an eShop card, so I like that. Plus, just in terms of collections, and there is this mentality lately of indie games getting the privilege of retail releases, and people building collections, via smaller games that are seeing the light of day, not only as digital downloads, but as retail releases, and we've seen some cool collections come out of that. So I think it's nothing but a positive for people that do want to pick up a cartridge. And Overcooked, again, let's just use this moment to give Overcooked a little bit of love. Absolutely phenomenal. It's a little controlling. It's a little sometimes sketchy with the Joy-Con, but that kind of just adds to the fun. I think it is one of the, if not the best cooperative experience that you can have currently. It's legit a blast. It's the perfect couples game. It's the perfect brothers game. Heck, get your freaking mom or dad involved. Overcooked is an insane amount of fun.
Yes, and like you said, there's no harm in the physical version existing. Good for anybody that wants it. There's nothing to complain about here. Physical releases are always a good thing.
Absolutely. So that is going to do it for this triple pack. We've got Rockstar bringing in hefty numbers for LA Noire, including a massive 14 gig download, even with the cartridge. We've got EA saying that, hey, they're going to put the brakes on a little bit and wait till at least March 2018 to make future Switch plans. And then we've got Worms WMD, Overcooked, Yoku's Island Express, and Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap, all receiving physical releases for your favorite hybrid. Until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Hope you're having a fantastic day. For myself and young Gabriel, Switch Force, out.